Hello and welcome to Awkward Family Conversations, an intergenerational discussion of topics of interest to millennials and Zoomers. I am here with my dad, Rhett, who, after insisting that he was not going to get another dog until he and my mom were done traveling, approximately 6 months after they became empty nesters, there was another dog that was designated my mom's dog. 2 weeks later, I came home. You're throwing the ball for the dog and accidentally hit her in the face. Proceed to get down on your hands and knees and apologize to the dog long enough for me to get my phone out and start taking a video and have that video be 30 seconds long. So I think we know who wants the dog.
Your
My
mother.
dad.
Hello, Ed. I'm not saying I don't love the dog, but it was your mother's idea all the way through there. But very happy to have little Roxy with us. She is a delight.
She's pretty great.
We all know the dogs make the best pets, and so that's kind of where.
Hey now, watch it.
Yes, I am here as always with my daughter Addie. Since we're on the subject of animals, when Addie was, I think, still in elementary school, although it may have been early junior high, she had a particular affinity for chickens. And we had to watch the public
Yes.
casting history of the chicken or something about the
Natural history of the chicken.
Natural history of the chicken, an hour-long show about chickens and people who treated them in all kinds of different ways. And we went from having to buy chicken, having to buy free-range chickens and organically raised chickens and everything until finally she just cut it all out. But we never really understood where you got exposed to the idea that chickens needed to be cared for. But we had a chicken phase that she went through.
I want to say Mom and Callie originally watched that on TV and then bought the DVD for me to watch.
We did have the DVD, that's true. And we did watch a lot. And you, of all the people, seem to be most engaged.
Okay, one, it's an awesome documentary.
True.
Where do you get both crazy chicken people, which is apparently a brand of people, and also education about the horrors of animal agriculture all in one? The natural history of the chicken. It's a fantastic movie.
That is fair. All of that was included in the documentary.
Although there's very little about the actual natural history of the chicken in it. It is just weird chicken people, and animal agriculture is pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah, you don't get an evolutionary view of the chicken, that's for sure. But if you haven't seen Natural History of the Chicken, it's worth an hour of your time, if nothing else than to see the way people dress up chickens when they have them as pets. But there is a lot of good information about it. So, hello, Ed. So before we get into today's topic, we do have a follow-up item from last week. We talked our last episode about sleep and the importance of sleep, and why you want to get sleep, and how you can go about making sure that you're getting enough sleep, since that is it is a cornerstone, one of the three legs on the three-legged stool of health. But there is my good friend Tom is currently reading a book that he got through his book club called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, and it's the definitive guide on sleep. It has all the information you need in there about sleep. So a great resource if you want to delve further into sleep. And if you want to, inspire your book club, you might want to put it on the list too. So what is our topic for today, Ed, as we continue to tackle health in our season 2?
Our topic for today is how do I make myself exercise?
Well, if there was ever a topic where we were in danger of having a 6-hour episode, this might be it. Exercise has been to the extent I have passions, exercise has been a passion of mine for many, many years now. And
it's up there with candy.
I do like candy, although I'd have to say exercise might be, I'm not exercising a ton right now being locked down. but I'm
I
not
was
even
gonna say,
trying
I
to
don't think you would go seek out a treadmill hidden in a back office at your building, but you do seek out the stores of candy.
I have in the past sought out stores of candy. That is true. That is true. In treadmill, maybe not so much, but yes, I do love exercise. Exercise has changed my life in a number of incredible ways, and some of them we'll talk about today. And I can say that yeah, exercise is one of these topics that I can bore people at parties for a very long time with information and anecdotes and advocacy for exercise. So
That's why I
definitely,
don't go to the runners parties anymore.
yeah, that's we tend to talk a lot about exercise, and I am the prime offender there, I'm
There's
afraid.
a lot of talk about nipple chafing, and it's just weird.
Well, there are. Now, we're not going to get quite that deep today, but certainly we could. That is true. Different
Past.
different things to deal with. Certain exercises create certain specific challenges that need to be managed, and chafing is certainly one of those. And
Yeah.
boy, you do not want to get into the shower after you've gone for a run and chafe those nipples. That is not.
Uh,
Yeah,
uh.
yeah, exactly. So that's part of the uncomfortable part of the awkward part of our awkward family conversation. And we're going to have a couple of those moments today, I believe. So,
Oh
anyway, we
God.
know from our first episode this season that only about 5% of us get 30 minutes of exercise a day, and only a third of us in the United States get the recommended amount of weekly exercise. So we know that exercise, this is an area that people are not living their healthiest life in general on a weekly basis, or even a daily or weekly basis in terms of getting the amount of movement um, that they need. When we talk about exercise, that's really what we're talking about, is moving the body, using your body the way it was designed. Our body is designed to move, and the exercise is the way we do that. So when we talk about exercise, what we're talking about is moving the body. We're not talking about heavy aerobic exercise necessarily. We're just talking about moving our bodies through space, or just moving our body in place if necessary. But anyway, we talked about your exercise, but let's revisit that subject, Addie. How much exercise do you get, and why is this topic important to you?
I mean, in terms of like actual set aside time to do exercises, I'd say 0. Um, Actually, I take that back. I go roller skating like once a week,
Okay.
but my job is my main source of activity because it's 11 hours of being on my feet, so it's a lot of activity.
Mm-hmm. And why is
Um,
this topic important to you? Why are we talking about exercise today?
in all honesty, it all comes back to senior year of high school. During senior projects, one of my classmates did a really interesting project on Alzheimer's, which is like probably my number one fear of like the way to die, that I will take anything over that, all of the things over that. And one of the biggest preventions was exercise and regular exercise, keeping your brain functioning. And I was like, oh, I should do that. And then didn't.
Yeah, no, that's
And I
true.
mean, that's one example. Like all the other bad things that come with aging also are like, this is preventable by exercise.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're going to prevent aging, but it'll forestall
Let
aging.
me have this.
Well, what it means is the quality of your time that you have. Well, one, you'll have more time if you exercise regularly, and the time that you have will be of higher quality, no question about it. And so we'll get into, when we kind of wrap this up in a couple of episodes, we'll actually got an idea for an exercise that will just sort of say, if you pay a little bit every day now and through the rest of your life, what is that going to translate to, or what does that need to translate to on the back end? And I think you'll see that the investment will be worth it. That the time that you invest, if it's 2 or 3 hours a day doing all your healthy behaviors, not just exercise, but if you're getting the sleep that you need relative to the sleep that you'd get just sort of haphazardly, I mean, not paying attention to sleep. If you get the exercise, if you take in other words, if you take the time to live a healthy life, because I think that's we'll talk about this in a little bit about the thing that gets in the way. And I think the main thing that gets in the way is time. And if you devote the time, it'll pay off for you longer term. You'll actually create more time, more quality time, that then you can put to the other purposes, the things that you're sacrificing now. You'll just have more time to be able to get those in, and you'll end up with an excess of time relative to what it takes to. You'll create more time by investing time when you're younger and through your middle age and even into your older ages as well. But let's talk about why you want to exercise. What are the benefits of exercise? And so I only did 2 minutes of internet research because I've got about 18 years of previous internet research that I have done around exercise. But 2 minutes of internet research yielded a rich trove of benefit to exercise. So just as we talked last week, the tremendous health benefits to sleep, getting the appropriate amount of sleep and the quality of sleep as well. Remember that, when you're sleeping, you need that restorative sleep. That means that you've got to devote time to let your body and your mind get those cycles, those sleep cycles that will restore it, so that you can be refreshed and you can be repaired and ready to tackle the day in a more productive way. Same thing applies to exercise. Our body's designed to be used. We're supposed to move. And I'll use an imperfect analogy. If you have a car and you drive that car regularly, the oil, the antifreeze, the gas, all of that stuff is circulating. It's keeping those systems running well. The air, in the tire, will keep the seal on the tires strong. When you're using something the way it's meant to be used, it's going to be you're going to be able to use it, and it will be responsive. It will be productive in that use way more than if you were using your car as a refrigerator, say, which is not a great analogy, but say it's really cold, and you were storing meat or ice cream in there because it was really cold. You're not driving the car, you're just using it for storage stuff. Maybe it's not a refrigerator, maybe it's just a locker where you're storing stuff in the trunk and the back seats. You're not using the car, you're not moving the car, it's not being used for its purpose. It can, when you do want to use it for its purpose, maybe, the tires are going to be underinflated, because they're leaking air because the seal isn't as strong. The oil is pooled in the bottom of the pan, and so you're not getting the lubrication that you need, and you're getting more wear on the pistons. And the antifreeze isn't circulating through the through the cooling system, and so it's the same with the body. And again, imperfect analogy, but if you're going to use the vessel that you have in the way it's intended, the way it's been built, you'll be able to, it'll be much better at performing the functions for which it's designed. And so, when we talk about the benefits of exercise, we're going to talk a lot about, your body. You're just going to work better because you're using your physical self in the way that it's meant to be used, and that makes the whole thing work better. Exercising regularly, first of all, and this is, I think, something that is relevant to you and you might bear in mind, is that it tends to reduce feelings of anxiety and improve your mood. Hormones, our body decides what to do based on, largely on the hormones that it releases. And, when you exercise your body, it actually creates changes in the parts of the brain that regulate stress and anxiety. It creates a sensitivity in the brain for the hormones serotonin and norepinephrine or whatever, which relieve depression. What's that?
Norepinephrine.
Yes, I don't know what that is, but it's a hormone it's a hormone that relieves depression. And so, and by the way, intensity doesn't matter. How hard you're exercising. You don't have to be out of breath here to get most of the benefits of exercise. I think when people think about exercising, they think about, running really, really hard. And there's a measure that's called the perceived rate of exertion. So when we talk about intensity of exercise in a little bit, it's a scale of 1 to 10, and it's a measure of how you perceive yourself to be exerting energy. And so 1 is basically asleep, and 10 would be running for your life. So you're all out, hard as you can go. You can't go any faster. Your body can't do anything more. If you're on that scope, and moderate exercise is probably around a 5. Easy exercise would be a 3 or 4. Moderate exercise would be 5 or 6, and intense exercise would be like 7 to 8 on that rate of perceived rate of exertion. Most of the exercise that we talk about, most of the benefits of exercise, you don't have to be over a moderate level of exercise, and many of these are accessible with an easy amount of exercise. So, don't think that you have to be out of breath and be physically uncomfortable during your exercise to get the benefits of the exercise, these health benefits that we're talking about. And this mood improvement and reducing feelings of anxiety, kind of lowering those stress reactions that you get. Just moving, just a walk is a tremendous way to do that. That's probably when people talk about how they feel about exercise, they just feel better when they exercise, largely because, the mood is improved. You're able to work off, stress. The reason you're able to work off stress is because your body, while it's exercising, releases these hormones that allow you to recalibrate some of those stress levels and anxiety levels. Second benefit is that it increases your metabolism. And, this is one of those things when we start talking about diet next week, diet and nutrition. If you stop eating, your metabolism will slow. Your body will respond to reduced calories by reducing the energy output. And so by exercising, you're able to burn more calories. That actually increases the metabolism because your body has to access that energy. And it's stored. Energy is stored in a couple of places in your body. It's stored as fat. That's your long-term storage. But it's also stored as glycogen in the muscles. And that's it will use that glycogen first when you exercise, and then when you eat something, it'll replace that glycogen into your muscles. It won't store it as fat. And so when we talk about nutrition, we'll talk a little bit more about how to balance this. Exercise allows you to, burn those calories. If you exercise at a lower level, you actually burn more fat, and your body won't replace that unless you have an excess amount of calories. So this metabolism, diet, exercise connection is important. You can, if you just diet alone, that can be effective at losing weight, but it will slow your metabolism and your body will use fewer calories on a daily basis. Whereas if you exercise, your metabolism will stay up. It'll burn calories longer, and that'll help you with weight. And weight is a big thing, and we'll talk about that next week. Weight is a big thing when it comes to health. If you're carrying around extra pounds, you're putting more stress on your body, and it's harder to exercise. You don't sleep as well. I mean, there's a lot of things that excess weight health effects of excess weight, and exercise is one way of helping manage the metabolism, which determines helps determine your weight. Physical activity, you build muscles and bones. You're using your body, and your body has to make adaptations, especially fully weight-bearing exercises. You talked about your work and how you're on your feet all day. That is fully weight-bearing exercise, and your bones and your ligaments, all the connective tissues in there, your muscles. That's what, and we'll talk a little about strength, but that's what you're doing when you're on your feet all day. You're having that weight-bearing exercise, and that weight-bearing exercises, your bones will respond to that by adding tissue and being, and which keeps them strong, which is a great way. You need your skeleton to be strong if you're going to live a long life and a long, healthy, active life. It helps with your energy. Regular exercise helps with your energy levels. And this is especially true if you have things like chronic fatigue and some of these chronic conditions. If you've got serious illnesses, cancer, AIDS patients. I mean, there's all kinds of science that shows people who are suffering from illnesses and chronic conditions do better when they exercise. This is relevant to your Alzheimer's concerns, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're just going to exercise. You're using your body the way it's supposed to be used, and that has all kinds of benefits to help you stay healthy, not just sort of skeletally muscular skeleton, circulatory system, respiratory system, but also your cognitive processes. So really, really important. We talk about moderate exercise. Antioxidant protection. It increases your production of antioxidants because your metabolism goes up, and now your body is producing all those things that it's supposed to be producing that it doesn't do if you're just sedentary, because it just doesn't feel the need to do it. Brain health. You get your blood flow is more active, and it helps you with brain health and memory. We talked last week about how important sleep was to brain health and memory. Exercise also helps with brain health and memory. Speaking of sleep, and this is sort of these reinforcing benefits that we've talked about the last couple of weeks about health, is that sleep helps you with manage your diet. We talked last week about how the sleep people who don't get enough sleep tend to be heavier because they tend to want sugar, high fat, starchy foods, because the hormones that sleep releases aren't being released, and so you end up with these imbalances, and it creates challenges. In the same way that sleep kind of helps with diet, exercise helps with sleep. You'll sleep better, you'll sleep deeper if you're tired, if your body is tired, and you'll feel more energized during the day. Again, your metabolism is up, your blood flow is greater, you're bringing more oxygen to the tissues all through your body. I mean, if you get your heart pumping, it's pumping oxygenated blood, not just to specific areas, but throughout your body. And this is where you're getting your brain health and your, and a lot of these other benefits. And so this complementary benefits help as well. Pain management, exercise helps with pain management as well. You might have a little bit of discomfort while you exercise if you're exercising aerobically or anaerobically, but even moderate exercise helps people feel less pain. And this is self-reported data, because pain is one of those things that's hard to measure other than subjectively. But folks that have pain from chronic health conditions, so if you got a lower back pain, for instance, or soft tissue issues. Well, and I'll give you a personal testimony from this morning. So I'm scheduled for gallbladder surgery on Wednesday this week. And so as prep for that, I can't take any ibuprofen or aspirin for 7 days prior. Well, I slept badly. I slept incorrectly on Friday night. And so yesterday morning, Saturday, I woke up with a neck ache, which inevitably, and is the case yesterday as well, led to a pretty bad headache for me. And I could not take any ibuprofen or anything that would help relieve that pain. And I woke up this morning with still a headache. So I went for a walk. I did a 45-minute walk around the neighborhood, and just that walk released some of the pain. Now, I don't know that the muscle was any, my headache and the muscles, the muscle constrictions and everything that caused my headache were relieved necessarily, but I felt a lot better after doing the walk. My headache was not nearly as severe. And I had a caffeinated cup of coffee, and then it went away entirely. So, so there you go. Just a personal anecdote from this morning, that pain management, the effects of pain, it just going for a walk. And again, this was not a hard run. I wasn't out there in any kind of anaerobic way, but that helped with pain.
Actually, going into the awkward part of this to prep for the next bullet point, which I just saw about 30 seconds ago and don't want to do. Pain, in terms of exercise and pain management, It helps a lot with period cramps for me. Like when I have days off and I'm like, "Oh, cramps," and I just lie on my couch feeling sad for myself versus the long days where I like had to walk to campus and go to work afterwards and everything. It's like I didn't even notice it because
Yeah.
moving around, it didn't hurt as much if I was working out, which was always nice.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah, great example. You have monthly menstrual pain. If you can walk around and get up and move, moving is going to make just about any condition feel better, unless you've got a bad, unless your knee is screwed up and you're trying to fully weight bear and exercise. And in that case, maybe a bike ride.
Or you've got mono, in which case you should not exercise because your spleen might explode. So don't do
Well, yeah, fair point. And yes, I mean, obviously you want to, if you have a specific condition and, exercise is not going to be it won't be the thing for everything, but just about everything will feel better if you exercise. And let's talk awkward. Let's talk about sexual desire, function, and performance, because nothing's better than talking about sex when you have children and parents in discussion. So, Eddie, how does your sexual desire, function, and performance
No,
change with exercise?
no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. So,
I will tell you that I'm on antidepressants and we'll leave it at that. So
I see. Very good. All right. So, yeah. So for men and women both, people that exercise more regularly tend to report healthier sex lives, which include desire, function, performance.
please stop saying performance.
Performance,
Please God.
like erectile dysfunction, for instance, much better in men who exercise, or I shouldn't. I mean, it's less of a problem for men who tend to exercise than it is for men that don't. It's just, yeah, there's a raft of, so if you want better sex, do the exercise. It'll pay off. It'll pay off for you.
Moving on.
All of those benefits, however, those came from Healthline, by the way. I was when I did my 2 minutes of internet research, all of those benefits came from Healthline. But I would add a last benefit that I've noticed just personally myself, is that I tend to exercise best when I exercise with other people. And I have found that when you're exercising with other people, the fact that you're moving your body and the exercise is creating demands on your body and your mind, it means that you, at least for me and the friends that I exercise with, it means that you don't have as much energy and focus to devote to sort of protecting your emotional self. And so you tend to be a little more, or certainly we tend to be a little bit more full disclosing when we're exercising than maybe we would be if we're sitting around having coffee or a beer or something. There aren't as many barriers because we are otherwise engaged with energy that would go to those barriers is not available because we're using our bodies and moving ourselves. And so we're, I developed very close friendships more quickly with the people I've exercised with than I would just through work or through other social kind of connections. And you talked a little bit about the runners party that we have. We do have a running group here, and there's probably a dozen to 15 of us. It's a very loose affiliation, but we've come to know each other very well through the years. Mainly through these joint runs that we've been on. And we've some great conversations have happened, but also you just get to know people really well by seeing how they respond to different things, and things that you can't even silly things. My friend Roger is you can't he's a brilliant guy, by the way, and hilarious, but easily distracted, shall we say. He is so curious that we'll be running along and he'll stop to get a real estate flyer from a house that's for sale. From across the street. He'll be like, "Oh, look at that," and run across the street, and we'll stop our run, and he'll get out the thing and look at it. And you just get to see things like that that give you insights into people, not just from the conversations, but just from the behavior. Anyway, so that social piece and that ability to kind of connect and find, there are people, and it's if you read the Runner's World magazines and bicycling. I mean, people that exercise together tend to develop deeper connections faster. And I think it's because you just get to see more of what people are all about, both what they say without as much guarding, and also what they do. And so anyway, tons of benefits to exercise. Exercise is something that we should all be doing. We'd all be happier, uh, all be healthier if we did pay attention to exercise. So let's talk about what gets in the way. What gets in the way of what makes getting exercise hard for you? And let's talk about dedicated exercise, because actually, as we talked about it, your work does give you quite a bit of exercise.
Motivation, a lot
Motivation.
of it. Just like I have a moment of inspiration, and I'm like, yeah, I should do that. And then all of the steps in between of putting on my shoes, getting in my car and going somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff is just like, second thought, no. And then the flip side, anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety tied to exercise. So I'm like, I don't look stupid. Better just not. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's so yeah, I think there's so I think probably the more typical answer would be time, right? That exercising is time, and there's a lot of steps and everything, which is and the second part of that is what you talked about, is that there are a lot of barriers, a lot of places where you can get hung up on exercising. And so addressing the time piece, the time commitment, we talked a little bit earlier about, we'll do the math for people later, but if let's figure that you need 45 minutes of exercise a day. There's a little bit of prep time, and minimizing that prep time, to your point, can help you fulfill that commitment to exercise. And then there's the post-exercise time. And I think a lot of people will say, well, I don't want being sweaty, and the time that I need to recover from exercising, because I have to shower, clothes, or wipe down somehow. That often gets in people's way as well. And so I think there's certainly ways to manage all that. So let's talk about the steps to exercise. Well, let's talk about, first of all, how people might be more effective at getting the exercise. And this goes to, when we're talking about healthy living, we've talked about this in the last 2 episodes. There is a process by which we can make it more likely that we can do those healthy behaviors. And the first is to set the intention and expectation that you are going to do that, whether it's going to bed at night or whether it's exercising during the day. Set the expectation with yourself. Exercise is worth doing. I want to exercise. I intend to get my exercise. So make that commitment in your mind. And that's the first step. And the second thing is to accept that may mean that you're going to have to sacrifice something today. Doesn't mean you're going to have to never do that thing. It just means you can't do it today. So if the thing that you want to do, watch that extra TV show, that you want to call one of your friends, that you want to read a book, or that, whatever the thing is that you would do if you weren't exercising, recognize, okay, I'm not going to be able to do that today, but don't say that you're never going to be able to do that. Don't make that the reason that you don't exercise. Choose exercise because it's important and you need to do it. But in choosing exercises, you're not saying no to these other things. You're just saying not today, or not yet, not during this time. This is the time I'm going to do the exercise. And then, like you say, don't hesitate when it's time. It's time, act. And this is sort of will, this is discipline. Hey, our audio intern is back. For those of you not on the YouTube video, our audio intern, Eddie's cat Claire, has made an appearance. So you're missing that.
she exercises.
Does she? In the middle of the night, she charges around your apartment?
Actually, no. She is very good at not charging around my room in the middle of the night. I think it's because she's a cat and she sleeps for 16 hours a day. And she has learned to do that during the night. But she really likes to play with her toys. As soon as you get something out to hunt, she's gonna hunt
Excellent.
it, which does include the first 10 minutes of me being in bed, my feet under the covers.
Well, there you go. Got to get it you got to commit to it, and then when it's time to do it, you get on it. So that's the piece. Then the second thing, when we talk about trying to reduce barriers to involving, and so what you talked about is, oh, I have to get, put my clothes on. I have to get dressed for exercise. Then I have to get in the car and go somewhere to exercise. And so to the extent that you can either prepare for those ahead of time, or minimize them if you can eliminate the steps. If you can exercise from where you live, that'll save you the step from having to get in the car and drive either to the gym or to the trailhead or whatever. So, I mean, if you can go for a walk around your neighborhood, if that's the exercise you choose, that's going to be one less thing that you have to get over mentally. And as we talked about, there's a lot of demands on our mental energy during the day, and especially if you've got a job or you spend a lot of the day denying yourself things, it's hard to summon that energy to do these other things. So try to minimize those. Maybe there's an opportunity, to dress for your workout, either underneath your work clothes or as part of your work outfit. Find those breathable fabrics and those things that allow you to go for a walk at lunch that won't, violate dress codes. I mean, one of the things that I've done that I've found really good is I use hiking pants. I mean, the hiking pants these days are really, really passable for work clothes, especially in the more casual work environment. So for men. But I think there are probably some solutions out there for women as too. They might be more expensive. They may not give you the full range. And if you're in scrubs, that's going to be a little bit different. But maybe there's things that you can do quickly, right? So getting scrubs on and off are probably pretty fast, and getting exercise pants on and off can be pretty quick too. So, if you can walk around in running shoes or walking shoes, and then just use those same shoes for your exercise when you're done with the work day or you're at lunchtime and you've got your work shoes. I mean, I used to work with women all the time who'd wear heels during the day or flats. And then, at lunchtime, they pull out their running shoes or walking shoes out of their drawer, put them on and go for a half-hour walk at lunch. And then, the sweaty part, certainly a challenge. If you're going to exercise hard, you're going to sweat. Even if you exercise a moderate amount, there might be some perspiration, but they have a number of wipes now and things like that you can use to remove the sweat from your body, from your face. Makeup for women is another challenge, but think about, do you need as much makeup as you wear? I mean, I don't even want to get into that, but
for that, I say screw it.
Well, right, and I think that some women really, really want to be made up, and so maybe working out during the day isn't going to be viable because of that. But that means let's find another way. Exercise before you put on makeup, or exercise after you've finished the part of your day where you feel makeup is important to you. So there's things like that. But the more you can incorporate, and here's a great strategy if you can make it work. If you can incorporate exercise into the other activities in your life, things that you have to do anyway, then you don't have to find special time and set aside special time to do that. And so things like commute, if you can commute on a bike or by walking instead of by car, great way to stay in shape. I think we talked about it when I was in Denver and working in graduate school for the year I was at the University of Denver. I walked to school, which was like 1.5 miles, 2 miles each way. And then I'd walk to work, which was 3 miles each way. I'd be walking a lot, and I was in tremendous shape. I mean, I wasn't aerobically fit because I wasn't doing a lot of aerobic exercise, but strength-wise, very good. Weight management, I was very, very thin when I was doing that. Partner time, the time that you spend with your close friends or your life partner or your current partner or whatever. Go for a walk. Don't sit on the sofa and talk about your day. Put on your walking shoes and go around the block. Spend a half an hour just going around the block and have your debrief time. It gives you together time, and you're walking. So that's another way to do it. Pet time, a little tougher with a cat, but if you've got a dog or another animal that needs outside time, if you have to do 2 walks a day, make one the enrichment walk, so the dog can sniff all he or she wants. Let the dog set the pace, figure out that. But then that second walk is your exercise walk, and this will do the dog really, really well too. And this is what I used to do with Teddy when we had our other dog. Is I'd take him on his walk at night. Now we had a retractable leash, and he would have the length of the retractable leash, to use as his time. But we walked. I was walking the entire time at a steady pace. And if he'd be out in front of me, he had that he'd have the leash out. He could go as far in front of me as the retractable leash would allow him. And then he'd stop and sniff, and I would catch up to him and pass him by. And when we got to the point where the leash was at its limit, I would tug, and he knew that was time to come along. And so then he would catch up to me and go ahead and sniff, and that was it. But I walked the entire time at a steady pace, and he got his exercise, a little bit of sniffing. What you want to do during the day is make sure he gets another walk where that dog gets to sniff and do all that enrichment stuff that the pet needs. So anyway, I think that's those are different ways you can incorporate exercise into time that you would probably spend anyway. And then finally, and this is the thing that works for me, is challenge yourself with an event. I mean, that is a great motivating way, especially if it's a scary thing, if it's something you haven't done before. I keep raising the stakes, starting with a 10K race, then a half marathon, then a marathon, then an Ironman, a half Ironman, then an Ironman triathlon. I mean, these things because fear is a great motivator, and the fear that I'm not going to be able to successfully complete an event is pretty strong, and that provides a lot of motivation to make sure that I am getting the exercise that I need and the workouts in that I need to be able to complete the event successfully. And so if you challenge yourself, if you're the type of person who needs a challenge to help give you that motivation, then do it and commit to it. Sign up with an event goal, pick an event that will be a challenge for you, that'll give you a little bit of that fear, and then sign up, pay your money. And a little bit different now that we're going through COVID, but when we have that opportunity, do it. And that can help a lot of people. It certainly helps me focus my attention and my motivation on getting exercise then. So what other challenges do you think about, that keeps you from consistently exercising or setting aside time and then actually following through on that exercise? You talked about anxiety.
I mean, anxiety, I alleviate myself by YouTube, really. Being able to work out inside of my own home to YouTube videos really helps because then nobody is looking at me and it feels good. Um,
And that may be another great way. What a great idea is, if you've got a lot of obstacles that kind of derail you, the getting dressed for exercise, the having to go someplace to exercise, the worry about what you look like while you're exercising. Absolutely, move in your house. Your mother likes to dance, and she'll turn on dance music and dance for half an hour around the house. She's moving.
um,
That's exercise. That's great.
Another one for me is just fun. I have yet to find something that, like, as an adult, I'm like, yeah, this is something I want to do frequently. Like, I like yoga, I enjoy Pilates, but it's not something I want to do every single day.
Hmm.
And the things that I did like to do were stuff that's hard to find, stuff like volleyball practice. I can find leagues and stuff, but it's there's a game once a week. It's not consistent exercise. And I'm like,
Mhm.
So trying to find something that I actually enjoy enough that I'll go and do it is hard, especially because I'm the kind of person who needs to do different things. Like I can't just be like, yeah, I like swimming. Like I'm gonna get tired of it after at least a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. No, that's true. And I think a lot of people are like you in that a variety of exercise would help. So things like bike riding. I mean, triathlon training is great for that because you run a couple days a week, you bike a couple days a week, and you swim a couple days a week. But it's for situations like that, maybe find things that you can do with different people, so that you're walking a couple days a week, 2 or 3 days a week with people, or you're going for a run, or you're going for a bike ride, or you're roller skating. I mean, what a great exercise that can be. So you may have to put a portfolio together of different exercises, and so maybe volleyball is one. You do that one night a week. Now that's not by itself going to be enough, but it's one night. And if you need to exercise, 4 or 5 times a week, out of your, especially since your job gives you a lot of exercise, um, that can help. That can help help fill the calendar. Basically, you want to be able to move yourself 30 to 45 minutes a day, and so building a portfolio. So okay, Wednesday night's my volleyball night. All right, I'll go for that. Thursday or Saturday afternoon is my roller skating afternoon. Now you only need a couple other kind of days, 2 or 3 other days where you're doing stuff. Combine that with a walk with Jalen or your neighbor or whoever you can get to do consistently, so that you're doing that on your day off, or maybe before you go into work. It's tough with a 12-hour workday, but to do
That'd
stuff.
have to be a 5 a.m. walk. So
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe there's people who have a similar schedule, or when you get home, and so. But the point is that there are this portfolio of approach. If it certainly helps me to exercise with other people. As I said, that social element for me is a really important part of my working out, and just getting the regular exercise. If that's what helps motivate you to get out and do it, then that's a great way to do that. I think too, there's this information. Um, and we haven't talked about that explicitly in terms of your experience, but what is, if I decide to do a workout, what do I do? Right? How often should I be doing it? How long should I be exercising? What intensity should I be going? And so I've helped a lot of people with training plans through the years, people who have set goals to run marathons, half marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks. I've done a lot of work with folks, and those 3 questions that I just mentioned. How often should I be working out for best results? How long, should each workout be, and how intense should each workout be? And so, you should be getting daily exercise. You should be moving daily. And again, doesn't have to be high intense exercise for sure. So that's the other, one of the other questions: how intense do I need to be? If you're doing a 30 to 45-minute walk every day, you're fine. You don't need to be out of breath. Uh, that would be great. And so, that's it. A daily walk. How long per session? 30 to 45 minutes. And how intense? Doesn't have to be intense at all. It could be easy intensity. If you're doing 45 minutes of easy exercise, great. If you want to shorten the time, maybe time is it's a precious commodity for all of us, but you're not willing to commit to 45-minute walk, especially if it means you've got to, clean up before or after, or clean up after and prepare before. Then you want to do more intense work. Well, you can do 30 minutes of vigorous exercise, moderate intensity or higher. Then you will need to clean up a little bit, but that can work too. Or if you really want to, sort of build aerobic capacity and stuff, do 10 minutes of intense exercise, and it doesn't have to be 10 straight minutes. Interval training is a great way to build aerobic fitness, where you'll go hard for 2 minutes and then just kind of walk for 2 minutes, and then go hard for 2 minutes and then walk for 2 minutes. Now you want to warm up for 5-10 minutes ahead of time. You want to cool down for 5-10 minutes at the back end. But if you do that, you do 10 minutes of hard work in interval ways, where you're going very hard for 2 full minutes and then walking for 2 minutes, you're going to get 10 minutes of full exercise, 8 minutes with those gaps in between. That's 18 minutes. And then if you do 6 minutes on the front end to warm up, or 10 minutes on the front end to warm up, and 10 minutes or 5 minutes on the back end to cool down. And the cool down is just walking. You don't have to be jogging or anything else. I mean, if you do that kind of thing, great workout, and you're done in 40 minutes. And you've had a terrific workout that's really improved your aerobic capacity, boosted your metabolism. You're getting all those health benefits too. So, they're kind of three. Last thing here is there's 3 sort of pieces of physical fitness. And to be healthy, you really only need one, really, and that's strength. You just keep using your body, and you're going to build strength. And this is important. I used to, when we were allowed to go to the gym, I would go, and we had one personal trainer at the gym that I would work out at, named Bob, and his whole clientele was older people. I mean, we're talking people 60s and older. And his whole focus was what he called functional strength. And he had people doing balancing and lightweight exercises and body weight exercises. And his whole goal was to make people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s be able to live a life where they could carry their own groceries up the stairs. They could get things from high shelves and bring them down, without putting themselves at danger of a fall or dropping things on them, or hurting their back or other soft tissues. And so he would build core strength, and he'd build balance, so that your core and your extremities were working together, so that you could do all of those functional, meaning, just sort of everyday life, you'd be able to do what you needed to be able to do. And those people were very healthy. The other two pieces of physical health are flexibility. So how flexible are you? And this is kind of stretching. And this matters because you can have strains, you can have muscle strains if you're not flexible enough. And so that can affect you can pull muscles in your back and your legs, your hamstrings in particular, because they tend to be, in a sedentary person, those hamstring muscles tend to be super, super tight. Popping your calf muscle is pretty typical. So some stretching can help. It's not critical, but it can help. And then your aerobic capacity. And this is probably the one that most people don't need, because how many times are you going to need to run for your life? And be able to run for a time and have your body be able to oxidize, to take in oxygen and get that to muscles over a longer period of time where your aerobic capacity really matters. That's going to be very rare. You're not going to be chasing anybody or anything. And you're not going to be running from anybody or anything typically. So aerobic exercise is really only what you need to think about if you're going to do athletic events, running, biking, swimming, those types of things, competitively or as events. But in terms of your functional day-to-day work, you don't need to do aerobic exercise, and because you don't need that aerobic capacity or that enhanced aerobic capacity on a regular basis for functional strength or to get through your day in a healthy way, you don't need to push yourself that hard. So when we think about exercise and it being uncomfortable when we're exercising, that's not the kind of exercise you need to be healthy. Walking is you get all the benefits of running by walking without all of the discomfort and the injury risk and everything else. There's no benefit that running gives you that translates into better fitness for day-to-day living. And so that's kind of the last thing I'd leave you with is low intensity exercise like walking, 30 to 45 minutes a day. If you're able to, and if you're able to do that, you will live a very healthy life. And, there's only about a third of us who are doing that right now. So there's a lot of places where we could do better. Does that make sense?
It does.
Are you going to be psyched now? Are you going to be doing exercise?
Well, I'm still working the job that I'm working, so yes.
Okay. But what about setting aside time for doing other things other than roller skating?
We'll see.
Okay.
It doesn't help that at
Take
this
Jalen for a
moment.
walk.
Yes, he and I do go on walks fairly frequently. But right now at work, things are just hard and difficult. So on my days off, I kind of just want to sit in the corner and feel bad for myself. So
How many days a week do you work?
3.5, but last week I worked 5.
Okay. But that meant that there were 2 to 3 days where you're not exercising at all because you're sitting in a corner feeling sorry for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, one of those days I'm roller skating.
Oh, that's true. Okay, good. And
So,
if you're when we're talking about living healthily, we're not talking about 100% of the time. Basically, if you're doing what you need to be doing in terms of sleep, in terms of diet, nutrition, in terms of exercise, if you're doing it 6 out of 7 days consistently, then you're living a healthy life. You don't have to be. This isn't about you don't have to commit to doing this every single day and never missing. So
I
that's
do
pretty.
okay with my current job. If I were to switch jobs, it would be more of a challenge. But as it is right now, it's like, okay, it's built in. We're good.
Yeah, I see. So I see I didn't update our script with next week's topic, but it's going to be
Wow.
about diet and nutrition, I think. So I'll save you that. Next week, we're going to be talking about how do I eat healthily next week. So I don't think we have anything else today. No, any follow-up items? I can't think of any other than nipple chafing
Oh, please
remedies.
God.
Can we talk about sex again?
Well, we will be later this season. So
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
remind me to do like 3 shots of tequila before that episode.
Well, we're putting the awkward and awkward family conversations. We're easing into it, but they're coming. So very good.
I've already got my trivia ready for that episode.
And I bet I can guess what it's about. So
I'm pretty sure you know, but
outstanding. One of my great moments. I hope. So.
Yeah. If you're saying it's one of your great moments, then yeah, that's the trivia one.
That and the Christmas wreath of your freshman year.
Terrible. Terrible.
more to come on each of those subjects for our loyal listeners. Very good. All right. So no follow-up items and no bad words again today. So PG, no need for the PG rating on our podcast. So we already talked about our topic for next week. We're going to be talking about how do I eat in a healthy way.
And I'll actually have things to add. So go team.
This is where you shine. So we'll make
That's
you
where
do
we
more
both shine. I got it from you.
Well, I think you're probably doing a little bit better than I am on this.
Let me rephrase this. I got it from you as an adult after you had children.
Yeah, I certainly didn't eat healthily, which has caused a lot of problems. And we can talk a little bit about that with my gut biome, for instance. Very, very unhealthy gut biome. Very, very limited because of my diet growing up was really bad. So, anyway, why don't you bring us home, Ed?
All right. Well, you can find us on awkwardfamilyconversations.com, at YouTube and Facebook, Awkward Family Conversations, and wherever you like to listen to your podcasts, also at Awkward Family Conversations, and on Twitter at Awkward Family C1. It's different.
Yeah, Twitter gets to be the odd man out.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. Questions, suggestions, any topics you want us to see covered through comments, messages, DMs, or just regular text, because again, pretty sure all of our listeners are people who know us personally.
I think, well, I think we got our episode on podcasts. I think 14 is our high water.
Go team.
So
We're doing great.
We are.
My college roommate is binging currently.
Is she?
Yes.
Outstanding. And any feedback for us?
Just that her words were, "This is the cutest thing ever." So.
Well, that's something anyway. So, all right. Well, until next week, I love you, Ed.
Love you too, Dad.
All right. Bye.